It is good to be here today. I want to explain a couple of the ground rules real quickly. I'm going to be asking a variety of different questions. We're going to alternate back and forth between teams or individuals. I will explain the format of each question as we go along. Some questions will have a 2-minute time limit, others will have a minute. The candidates already know about the ground rules. They'll hear the beep, which means I'm going to give them 10 to 15 seconds, and if they go longer...
I've been involved in a lot of activities on campus, but most importantly, I have been a member of Academic Senate for the past 2 years, a representative on the College of Health for the College of Health and Human Services for the past year, and I have worked on campus in the academic advising office for the past 2 years, and I live up on campus in a residence hall.
Very good. And the position you're running for?
Executive Vice President.
Very good.
All right. I'm Nick Chretien. I'm a sophomore here at YSU. I'm a business... Hello. Okay. There we go. I'm Nick Chretien, and I'm running for President of Student Government Association. I have a little cold here. You might be able to hear that. But I am a business economics student. I'm involved with a few groups on campus, most notably YSU SGA. We've been around for about a year, and I'm interested in many things going on within the city and the university.
Hi, my name's Ashley Orr. Hi, my name's Ashley Orr, and I'm running for the position of president this coming academic year. I'm a double major in mathematics and economics, and I'm very, very passionate about the student body in Youngstown State. I've had a wonderful experience here so far, and I want to make sure that the students at this university also share in that.
All right, so everyone can hear me, right? Is that a thing? Okay, good. All right, I'm Jacob Schriner-Briggs. I'm a junior double major in philosophy and political science. I'm running for the position of executive vice president. And my favorite hobby, unfortunately, I'm a really big Cleveland sports fan, but I like to follow the Browns and watch them try to win football games.
Well, thank you. It's nice to get your backgrounds, and we're going to begin here in just a second. I want you to know that the team of Orr, Schriner-Briggs won the coin toss and deferred for the first question. So the first question goes as a team question to Nick and Ciara. So here's your question. What experience, and it's 2 minutes, okay? What experience do you have working with Student Government Association in the past that qualifies you to run for these two positions?
This year I served on the legislative body, and I worked on the University Affairs Committee. With that being said, this was my first year on student government. Last year I interacted with student government when I received funding from my student organization. On the University Affairs Committee, this year I always came well prepared. In addition to our regular agenda, I'd come with 5 or 6 extra things we'd go through. On that committee, we interacted with the students and relayed concerns to the proper officials within the university and the city of Youngstown.
Okay, I feel that I am qualified to run for Executive Vice President because I have been on Academic Senate for the past 2 years. I have been a representative for the College of Health and Human Services for the past year, and I served on the Student Life Committee. And as Executive Vice President, I would be in charge of the Academic Affairs Committee, and I have worked in the Academic Advising Office, as I had said, for the past 2 years. So I'm very familiar with academic policy and things surrounding academic affairs.
Thank you. Thank you. And now we'll hear from the other opponents.
So currently I am Student Government's Executive Vice President. That's the position I'm running for again. So I have experience with the specific thing that I'm seeking to obtain this year. More than that though, I'm also the Vice President for Academic Affairs on Student Government. So I coordinate the Academic Affairs Committee. We do things like the last lecture. I also coordinate YSU's academic senators, and along with Michael Slavens, am currently co-chairing the Academic Standards Committee, which is not a student government committee, but an actual university committee that sets academic policy.
I've been on SGA for the last 3 years. I began my service as a freshman representative, and all 3 years I sat on the Financial Appropriations Committee. That has been such a wonderful experience qualifying me for the position of president because I've had an opportunity to work with the student organizations and the students on their events and their ideas and really under my guidance this last year as the current VP for Financial Affairs, we funded 116 student organization-ran events. This is an all-time high and something that has motivated me over the course of my time on SGA to be able to serve the students in this way. In addition to my involvement within the Financial Affairs Committee, I pioneered the water bottle refill station initiative to bring those to campus because we care about campus amenities and have worked extensively with the Student Organization Committee, Guidebook Committee.
Thank you. Thank you very much. More involvement and available experiences that YSU has to offer to our students.
Absolutely. Involvement on campus is something that's incredibly important to this platform. We really advocate that your voice is our actions, and how we're going to engage the students with involvement is by reaching out to them and making sure they're aware of what's happening on campus and constantly being accessible and available. I think it's so important that the relationships that we make during this campaign trail, the organizations we've met with, the students we've talked to one-on-one, that those are relationships that weren't just for a vote, but they were for the whole academic year next year, to give us an opportunity to engage them in the areas that they're interested in and then make them more successful YSU students.
And then to kind of expound upon that, it's also really important to note that student government, in order to afford students activities, we need to get students engaged with student government. So you do that by being present online through social media, email, etc. But you also do that by getting people on the ground and actually interacting with students. So something Ashley and I want to do when we take office is the first body meeting, we want every single representative to have a shirt. We want them to understand that they need to go out to their colleges and interact with the students who take classes in them. And we basically need to ensure that student government is acting as direct representatives of the students, not behind a screen, but in person, talking to the students, and basically enabling those representatives to further the interests of the students in their colleges.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This next question is going to be a 1-minute response. It's going to be, the first question is going to be directed to Ciara and Nick. Then there will be a second question, slightly different question, directed on the same subject to Ashley and Jacob. The first question, which goes to you, in your opinion, and you can answer individually or as a team, you have 1 minute. In your opinion, what is the one best attribute of your opponent's platform and why?
In my opinion, our opponent, they offer many good qualities, but Jake having the experience as vice president is probably what best qualifies him for that position. We feel that we still bring very good ideas to the table and would respect that, or would hope that everyone listens to them too, but that's what I think his best qualification is.
I would agree. Their best attribute to their platform would be their past experience. That's something that we can't argue with, but we feel that we have experience as well.
Thank you. Okay, the second part of that question is, in your opinion, what is the best attribute of your platform, of your very own platform, and why?
I really believe that it's the value that we share, that our actions will really be dictated by the students and what they want to happen on campus, and then our willingness to work tirelessly to make sure that that happens. That value is by far the strongest of our platform. We provide some goals, but I really think that those have been dictated by what students have already told us, and we want that to be something throughout the whole academic year.
At the end of the day, we don't want to prescribe to you what we're going to do for you. We want to be active and capable listeners, listen to what you have to say, and then let you build our agenda. So that's what our slogan means. It's your voice, our actions. And that's definitely the crux of our platform and the most important quality.
Thank you, thank you. Would you care to
The issue
rebut?
that we feel with letting the student's voice be your actions, you should always be listening to the student voices, but there is no way of measuring you attaining that goal.
In addition to that, we also have set goals that we have in place just to get down to the basics of student government. With that, we hope to reach some goals that we feel that they are attainable.
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to switch tables around. We're going to ask you the very first question. In your opinion, what is the one best attribute of your opponent's platform and why? Yep.
So they released a pretty comprehensive platform. Definitely, in our opinion, the single most impressive part of their platform is their willingness to reduce the salaries of the executives and then reallocate that money to student organizations and to the Student Appropriations Fund. Now, specifically, they outline a $10,000 plan. About $8,000 of that is coming from salaries. We completely agree with that strategy. We do have some hesitations with reducing line items from the rest of the the general budget, because the way budgets work, just because something's line item, say for travel or conference attendance, doesn't mean that student government has to spend it that way. So taking money from those line items can theoretically take away from events that student government can put on in other areas. But that being said, if we're reducing the amount of money that are going into our pockets and helping you, that's very admirable, and that's something that we really respect about their platform.
And to add to that, I really care about student organizations and the funds that they have, so we're very open to that idea. But my question is, don't stop there. We can take money and move it from our administrative budget and give it to student organizations, but we also need to support them in their fundraising, in the event attendance, and then also continually ask the administration for more funds to pad that student appropriations budget.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, Nick and Ciara, I would like to ask you what you think is the one best attribute of your platform and why. Oh, yes, only one there.
I really think that the 10K going back to the student organizations is a key thing. We talked this year about how we funded more organizations than ever before, but next year, by following this plan, we can allocate even more, which I think is a huge thing. Along with other fresh ideas, I really hope that we get a chance to implement our plan.
I would agree with Nick. I feel that that is a very strong aspect of our platform. And our platform, we have a plan. It can be implemented, and we have steps to get this plan implemented. It can be measured if we accomplish these goals or not, and all our goals are going to help the students.
Thank you. And do you have a rebuttal to anything that they said?
Yeah, I really think it's important to keep in mind, though, that it's not just about how much money you have in an appropriations budget, but in your ability to actually get that money to student organizations. And the way you do that is by educating student organizations about the funding process. So that's specifically something that Ashley has done this year. When we say that we funded 117 student events, that's an increase of over 30 events from last year. So it's true that the more money you have in that budget, the more student organizations you're technically capable of funding. But we also need to be able to prove that we can actively go out and fund those student organizations, and our track record shows that we can't do that. So we're all for increasing the budget, but that's only the first half of actually being able to get that money to students.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay. The next question will be directed to Ashley and Jacob. As you know, some of you know that there has been some talk in the Academic Senate about implementing a plus-minus grading system. What is your position on that issue? You have 2 minutes to answer, by the way.
So specifically, that issue is actually in the committee that Michael Slavens and I currently co-chair. I think it's really important to note that there are two components to it. So the first is a principled argument. Do we want to change our grading system regardless of how hard it is to implement those changes? So that's the first question we need to answer. And then the second question is, assuming that we do want to make a change, how feasible is it? What our committee is doing specifically right now is we're reaching out to students, we're reaching out to faculty, we're reaching out to administration, and we're trying to dictate, one, what are the principled arguments in favor of a potential change, and secondly, how do we actually go about implementing it? So right now, our opinion is that we don't know quite enough. When this was brought to the floor of the Senate this year, there was an effort to get something passed within the last 15 minutes of that Senate meeting, and Michael and I pumped the brakes. We said, no, this needs to go to our committee. We need to discuss it further. So that's what we're doing right now. So our opinion is constantly evolving, and we're looking for your feedback on that as well.
Kind of following up on your feedback part, I feel very strongly that the student voice needs to be involved in this conversation. How we change your plus-minus grading system or your grading system in general affects your admission to graduate school. It affects your GPA on your resumes. And we want to make sure that the Academic Senate is making the decision that's best for our students and our students' success.
Thank you. And would you care to respond to that question? Sure. Please do.
All right. I certainly feel that we need more time in order to evaluate the system. As Jake said, they only had about 15 minutes to go over this, and anything where it's rushed and it could possibly hurt the students in the long run, I don't think that's a good idea. I'll defer to Ciara since she has a bit more expertise on the topic.
Yes, I was at that meeting that Jake spoke of where they introduced it in the last 15 minutes. There definitely needs to be more discussion on it. Up until about a week ago, there was confusion as to what Dr. Jerrison even meant. Some people thought that he meant that he wanted 2 systems running at the same time, so that students that were already admitted to Youngstown State University would be on just a regular system, and then new students would be on the plus-minus system. So we need to make sure that it's clear and that the students are reached out to, and faculty too, because this greatly affects faculty and how they do their grading system to make an appropriate answer.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the answer. Okay, the next question will be a 2-minute question, 2-minute response, and it goes to Nick and Ciara, and you can answer individually or as a team. How integrate businesses and services from the surrounding community into to socially expand the campus and its culture?
Well, in my experience here at YSU, I've been going here for 2 years, and since then I've been involved with NYO Property Group, the property owner downtown. We're working on the hotel project and many things like that. Also the Center for Urban and Regional Studies downtown, and I'm also a downtown resident. With that being said, those adjacent businesses directly downtown, I think there are great opportunities for us to interact with them. As we released our 10K plan to give it back to the organizations, they've also been, they've been saying, how can we be a part of this? They might not offer dollars specifically, but they offer the opportunity to have fundraisers in some ways, or event spaces, or just ways to hold events for your student organization. We think that'd be an awesome way to interact with the city.
Part of our platform going back is encouraging student organizations to hold more events downtown to really increase the relationship between downtown and Youngstown State University. We have the connections currently to get that started, and we want to foster a relationship that will continue not only through our administration but for future Penguins as well. If we increase downtown businesses, we will be able to bring other amenities to Youngstown. How many of you would like a grocery store or another gas station on campus to be able to utilize? If we use downtown businesses and businesses see that, our economy is growing, they are going to come downtown.
Thank you, and turn the same question over to you.
Absolutely. We really feel that we want student organizations to engage with the businesses and the government downtown, but we also value the importance of campus. You as students spend every single day on YSU's campus. So we want to encourage our student organizations to possibly have events downtown, but still remain focused on what they're doing here at YSU and focus on their academic success and empowering them to eventually turn into leaders and workers in our Youngstown community.
But on top of that, we also do recognize the importance of downtown. We are situated right next to an urban center. But it's also important to note that we have experience with the people who work downtown as well. I mean, Ashley just recently met with Mayor McNally to talk about their poverty awareness project that she's been working on. So we do have those relationships developed as well, and we do want to sort of build upon the potential. But at the end of the day, this is Youngstown State University Student Government Association. We need to focus primarily on Youngstown State and focus on the students and on their engagement with the campus.
And I think we have a very unique position as having that relationship with our students and then the administrators so that we can voice student goals for the long-term planning of this area. And that's something that I've had a good experience with. What do we want to see on campus in 10 years? No, it's not going to affect our administration, but it will affect future students and the shape of this university.
Thank you very much.
Sexual orientation should be able to feel comfortable when they step on this campus. But I also noticed that after writing that letter, that was something that we could have done more. That's a mistake that I made by not being as present. So now that Ashley and I have recognized that we have that experience, that's something that we're going to build on. That if there's ever a situation where students at YSU don't feel comfortable, student government's going to advocate for you, and we're going to be public about it, and we're going to make sure that this university is welcoming to all students, regardless of their background.
Thank you, and I will extend the same question to Nick and Ciara.
Youngstown State is a great university in that we have great diversity on campus. in no other school that I have been to have we had such a wide range of students in a classroom. Non-traditional students and traditional, from every economic background and from every ethnic background. And that's something that really enhances to our student experience. Nick and I want to foster this diversity, and a great way to foster that is by increasing engagement with those populations, with student government, with student organizations. I just met with Roberta Saikon today. She is a non-traditional student, and she asked me, what can you specifically do for us non-traditional students? We told her that we are going to increase funding for student organizations, and we're going to try to meet with these student populations to really encourage them to be involved.
As Ciara said, since our campaign really began, we've been meeting with all these organizations. We went down the list and personally emailed everyone, every president of every student organization, and we really hope that fosters a connection with every diverse group on campus. In addition to that, we will be better marketing student government. We have permanent solutions to reach out to the student body who, you guys are here right now, but people who can't be here right now, how do we reach out to them? With our marketing techniques, we want to implement a marketing plan to reach everyone, whether it be through social media, local media, or even sources such as the Jambar. One last point is that our platform includes the introduction of the International Student Ex Officio position. This was brought up earlier this year but was not implemented, and usually since international students may not get a chance to get put on the student government legislative body, we'd like to give them an ex officio position where they could have their voice heard on the legislative body.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the answer. Now we're going to have a little bit of fun. Yes, candidates. You have 2 minutes to respond to this. Here's your question, Nick. Who is your most admired person on campus and why?
Oh, God. Okay. That's a great question. This year, it's my first year on the legislative body, and I think looking at Michael Slavens, he's in the back. As we were going through the formation of our platform, we were looking at these things and we thought, that had to be a hard thing to do, and we think we can improve upon some of them, but Michael had a hard time dealing with some of these things. He's done a great job involving student academic success. So I really think that he set a great example on campus for the students and engaging administrators and everyone involved, or everyone to get the students involved with their best academic needs in mind.
Thank you. And now the same question for you, Ashley. Who is your most admired person on campus and why?
Absolutely. So Dr. Karen Becker is someone that I admire more than I can put into words. And there's several reasons why. One, I find that her and I share similar values. And one is that we try to respond to every student concerned with compassion. I've had a wonderful opportunity to work with her while we were writing grants to get more water bottle refill stations on campus. And that was something where I'm sending emails at 2 a.m. in the morning and she's replying back and helping me as a student bring forth the student concerns and their ideas and goals for the students. So not only do I share compassion for the student body with her, but also that dedication and that working tirelessly to make sure that the students' goals are advanced and we improve this campus for the better each and every day that we come here. Another thing that she has done on campus through the Reading and Study Skills Center is she's made students aware of the wonderful resources that YSU has. And that's something that I want to do as your SGA president next year if I'm so lucky to be that. I want to make the students, the ones that aren't necessarily here today, the ones that don't know about this event, aware of what YSU has to offer and the fact that they can be an incredibly successful student here. And so that's why I admire her and I strive to be her, to carry similar values as she does during my leadership, and then also just caring about what the students are saying.
Thank you. And now, Vice President, let's hear your thoughts on the following. If Governor Kasich and the Ohio Board of Education granted you sole authority over YSU for a day, what one significant action would you take?
Sole authority over YSU?
Yes, sir.
Oh man, that's okay.
In other words, you're President Tressel and the Board of Trustees for a day?
Something that particularly comes to mind, so we can talk about things, student involvement, student engagement. One policy in particular, I think, is to make our adjunct faculty feel a lot more welcome. As students, I feel like you've all had experiences with adjunct faculty and you've really appreciated the things that they've done. So what I would like to do is to so right now they work on term contracts that are very limited and don't pay very much. So specifically speaking, Attorney Ron Slipsky is an adjunct professor. I think some of you in the audience have had him. He, going back to the previous question, he's one of my biggest role models, and one of the reasons he doesn't teach as much as he possibly could is because there are limitations on adjunct faculty and the sort of access they have. So as students, it's very important that we engage you, it's very important that we get you involved, but it's also very important that we surround you with the best educators available. And some of them are adjunct, and I think to an extent, current university policy, out of necessity, disenfranchises them a bit. So that would be something that I would look to amend, to welcome adjunct faculty, because we have a lot of incredibly talented adjuncts at this campus.
Thank you. Thank you. Ciara, same question.
One thing that I would like to do if I were granted sole authority over the campus for the day would be to meet with the faculty and meet with the department heads and meet with the administration. Because here at YSU, I've only had great experiences with my professors, and there's been a lot of controversy over contract issues over this past year, and I would just really like to meet with the faculty and work with them to create a better teaching environment for them so we can better help the students and give the students a better quality education.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now the next question goes to Nick and Ciara. A 2-minute response. How could a relationship between the Student Government Association and athletics be more developed and beneficial for students at YSU?
Well, as we all know, athletics are a topic of controversy here in regards to spending and other things like that. We as the students, the athletes are also students. We feel that we could better represent them by doing what we say we're going to do for other organizations. We feel that we should also market their efforts and be proud of what they're accomplishing on and off the field.
Yeah, YSU athletics over the past couple years since I've been here has really blossomed. They've had a lot of notable achievements, and the YSU athletics department, they have some great accomplishments as individual students. They're often the top of their class, and they're all really great people. I know I have classes with them. So we really would like to better represent them, and that is an area where we haven't reached out as much as we should, I feel like, as a student government, and that would be something that Nick and I would look to do through making initial contacts.
This also wouldn't just go for sports such as football, where people may think of that. It should be student government saying we're going to go out to every team that we can possibly support, every team we can possibly support on the field, their events. And people just think that it echoes football all the time or other sports, men's sports like that, but we should really be out there supporting all Penguins on the field.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And now you may answer the question. 2 minutes.
Thank you. So while campaigning, Ashley and I actually met with the Student Athlete Advisory Committee. And one thing we posted them, we said, we know that you practice a lot. We know that you can't make it to student government meetings. So we also know that that inhibits you from being on the body and engaging with the body. So we asked them how they would feel about a possible liaison position that a member of SGA goes to the meetings of that group, here's what the athletes are doing, and then communicates that information back to student government, and then also vice versa, that that person is able to communicate to the athletes what student government is doing. So just because they can't sit on the body doesn't mean we can't take proactive steps to engage them and to inform them on what we're doing. So then on top of that, what we do is we figure out what they're doing, we find out what achievements they've accomplished, and then we go back to our platform where not only do we talk about engaging the athletes more, but we also talk about publicizing their accomplishments. So that's one very concrete way that we can engage athletes as your representative.
And then there's two sides to that coin, because not only engaging athletes in the leadership of the Student Government Association, but also engaging our students in what our athletes are doing on the field and off. So we really want to advocate that our general body of SGA would be going to those events, and then use points on our platform where we're getting more campus presence at these events and advocating for support of the athletics and of their wonderful accomplishments. I know you guys probably echo my concern, or not my concern, but my excitement for their success over these last couple academic years.
Thank you. Thank you. Advising and registration. Are there any improvements of the processes or advancements that you could foresee being accomplished by student government associations to assure a more fluent and smooth process for your peers?
So this year, Michael Slavens and I have been working on something called the Student Academic Success Initiative. So these are policies that we've been working on. We've been developing the necessary relationships to see these things through. So when it comes to registration, when it comes to advising, we have specific points in that policy recommendation that deal with those avenues. So one possibility is, instead of having a faculty advisor, you have a professional advisor and a faculty mentor so that you get the best of both worlds. You get a faculty member who knows what you need, and you get a professional advisor who knows how gen eds work, who knows how your requirements work, and who can give you very specific advice on that topic. But more than that, in the initiative that we've been working on all year, there was something that we were pushing for, and that was developing a 4-year plan for every single major. So currently, every major has a curriculum sheet. It's a list of classes that you need to take, but there's no necessarily recommended order to take them. Some majors have 4-year plans, but not nearly all of them do. So something Michael and I have been pushing is to get 4-year plans for every single major, so you know as a student in what semester you need to take what class. And just recently I emailed the Associate Provost's office, and they said that they have compiled these 4-year plans. They will be available to you. That's something we've been working on, and that's something that if we are elected, we will continue to push to see completed, because graduation and retention are crucial, and we want to help you in any way we can in those areas.
Another policy that was pushed forth in that Student Academic Success Initiative was scheduling for a year. This is something that we would want to continue working on this coming academic year. So you as students can plan out what your freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year look like with the aid of those curriculum sheets and 4-year plans. And we really believe that our experience with administration and our time on this student government body and the relationships that we have already built will aid us in advancing these conversations in regards to advising and academic success here at YSU.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And now we'll ask Ciara and Nick for their response.
Okay, I will start off by saying that Nick and I neither of us are strangers to the administration of the university. We've both worked on campus and dealt with these administrators, and just recently over spring break I went to Columbus with Jim Tressel to talk to legislators about higher education budgets. But I've worked in an academic advising office for the past 2 years, so I've heard students' complaints and students' problems with academic advising policies. I think one solution that we should really push for that could be very helpful is that all incoming freshmen have to have a first-year experience course. In this course, it would detail how do you get advised, how do you apply to graduate, how do you read a curriculum plan, how do you schedule classes, what are your resources available on campus. If we had a first-year experience course, it would really aid students in being able to get the most out of their education process.
As it's been said, there have been many great ideas brought forth to the proper channels this year in regards to academic success. With that being said, we would support these initiatives and continue them on, as they've been ideas that have developed over the course of many years, since past administrations even. With that being said, we'd love to continue to support the students and get their input in these situations, but we also think that it'd be valuable to gather the advisors' input on these situations too, and see kind of gather the feasibility of these actions in regards to actually implementing them university-wide.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, that is the end of the standard questions.
Offered the solution of giving student organizations additional funding through those methods.
So I've had a wonderful opportunity to be the current VP of Finance this academic year. And over that journey, I've seen the number of student organizations we funded increase. And in addition to just sending funds their way, I began to provide support for their events, aid in helping them fundraise and possibly write grants. I just edited a grant for the Student Education Association just the other week. So why didn't we think of it initially? Because we were thinking about, in addition to just sending money at student organizations' way, we were thinking about the support that we can provide, which we believe is just as valuable, if not more valuable. If we're teaching our student leaders how to raise funds themselves, if we're providing support for our student leaders during their events and we're increasing their attendance and their success. I think that money can go a long way, but also the lessons learned when you're fundraising and working with funding can go even further.
You have 1 minute to respond.
I certainly believe that our administration would help foster any of these other events. As mentioned, we'd work with any organization who requested help in forming, planning, or executing any of their events. My past experience with this has also been, I've worked with Ashley and Sam Anderson and others on the Student Organization Guidebook, and with that, we detailed the step-by-step of running an organization and great ideas of how to implement the best ideas on your events, on whatever you're working on, really. We believe that we would be able to offer these student organizations the same amount of help, in addition to the additional funding that they would receive, too.
Thank you. Thank you. And now you get to answer or ask a question that they will respond, and you will have a chance to rebut.
So I think our biggest question would be, so looking at your platform, there are elements of it that are definitely complementary of the things that Ashley has done, I've done, Michael Slavin has done. But there are also a lot of aspects that are highly critical. So my question would be, if all of these pent-up frustrations existed over the course of the year, why was the only one that was brought to our attention our lack of social media usage? When right after it was brought to our attention, we fixed it. Well, why weren't we given more of an opportunity to amend the things that you thought we were doing wrong?
Can I ask, in addition to social media, what other interests or things did we not express?
So you explained that we had lost momentum with some of our initiatives, that students weren't engaged, that they felt that their needs weren't being listened to, but none of that was brought to our attention. The one item that was brought to our attention we addressed. So why wasn't there more communication from your end to help solve those problems?
As we were looking through the past minutes and items to form our platform, we actually talked about social media in October in both student life and university affairs. These are not the proper, or university affairs wasn't the proper channel to handle it, but we had discussions there, so that was brought upon before the January 13th article from the Jambar concerning social media. In addition to that, we also had, it wasn't just our concerns expressed in this plan. As we said, it was gathered with members of Student Government Association from every committee. One major thing was the reforming of bylaws right before the election, and these bylaws directly hit on this election we were working with. It wasn't just our concerns, and we did express them to the executive board, and we really received no response other than, okay.
Okay, you may rebut.
Okay, I can attest that I never said, okay, that's the way it is, to anything that was brought to my attention. I also think it's important to note, specifically with the bylaw subject, that's brought to a vote. So what Michael and I did was we proposed an alternative to help fix a system that we thought wasn't operating as efficiently as it could have. We proposed those amendments to the body, and the body was able, as all deliberative bodies are, to vote on the matter. So we didn't dictate anything to anybody. Body members were educated and they had the opportunity to vote, and all but one amendment was passed. So at that point, it wasn't something that we were forcing on the body, it was something we were allowing the body to decide for themselves. But ultimately, Ashley and I value communication, and if there were problems, we really wanted to have them brought to our attention so we could look proactively to fix them, as opposed to hearing about them after the fact.
Okay. Pardon me?
Are we allowed to respond?
If they're allowed to respond back, sure.
Okay, with the bylaw changes, the amendments were sent out that weekend. We had discussion that Monday, and then it got close to 5 o'clock, and the student said, well, I'm tired of talking about this, can we just take a vote? There were students who still wanted to have discussion, and we took the vote anyway. And then also, with lack of communication, it was said, not specifically, okay, that's the way it is, but one of the bylaw changes was that primary elections would be either, it says in the bylaws, submitted by either electronic or paper means. Now, most of the students weren't aware of these changes, even members in your own body didn't know of these changes and missed it. And these weren't even implemented when they were supposed to be. We submitted primary ballots online right before spring break. So students weren't able to get all their necessary votes because we weren't even on campus to get this changed.
Can I add to that?
Very quickly, so
Okay.
that he
In addition to that, when we talked about the plus or minus system and that being rushed at the end of the academic senate meeting, we had the same situation happen within the student government meeting, and we had our current administration try and rush these processes, but say just now that it shouldn't have been rushed in another form.
you may respond.
Okay, so in specific, we had discussions on this topic at multiple meetings across multiple weeks, and at the end of the day, if the body felt that it was rushed, the body could have voted down the changes. That's all that we're saying. We just felt that the current system had problems. We wanted to propose a solution and not sit on our hands, but at the end of the day, we were going to allow the body to vote on it, and that's what they did. And again, the body as a collective voted to pass all but one amendment to the bylaws. So this was a collective decision.
And I think it's important to note, in addition to that, is that this is an instance that happened this academic year. You will be dealing with a different administration in the coming academic year if we're so lucky to be elected. And we really value the communication that we have with our body members. So if there was a discrepancy this year, it would be ironed out this coming year. We promise to work tirelessly to make sure our body is informed, just as we are going to work to make sure our students are informed.
Thank you. That's was quite a 45.
I am a biology major with a philosophy minor, and my question is for all of the candidates with the exception of Jacob Schriner-Briggs, because I believe he kind of already answered it. What do you feel in getting to this point has been your biggest mistake, and how did you learn and change from it going forward?
Would you like to answer that first?
My biggest mistake, I feel, was not getting even more additional feedback from our plan. We've talked to many people within many committees on student government, people who are not on student government, but as we talk to even more people, we get even more fresh ideas that we could have added to the plan. I think that would have been a great step.
My biggest mistake, I think, up till now in student government would be not having a more active voice. I didn't realize until I started getting involved with this how passionate I could be about student government, and that's something that I would like to see changed, obviously, if we got elected in the upcoming year.
So I would say that one of my biggest mistakes was that I didn't come to the fall leadership retreat with a list of possible fundraisers for our student organizations. So this year I advocated for adding a student organization fundraising part to the student leadership retreat. And then after the success of the fall leadership retreat, I was thinking over Christmas break, what else do our student organizations need? And I realized that it was guidance with fundraisers. So my biggest error was that I didn't do that earlier, but I corrected that with the spring leadership retreat, and even now, as I work with student organizations to help them with their fundraising.
Thank you. Thank you for the
I'm a linguistics major. My question is for both parties. I feel like both of your platforms and almost every platform that ever runs for SGA, they talk about engagement and student activity and involving all the students campus-wide, not just the ones who are usually involved, to be a part of SGA, for SGA to actually represent their voices. So can either of you tell me an actual concrete plan that you guys have for actually improving it this time if you guys were to be elected?
Since you... That was you? No, I think it's out there. I think we'll let, since you answered first last time, we'll go over here first.
So a big part of our platform is engaging our Student Government Association general body. We want to put them in shirts at the very beginning of the year. We want to encourage them to find the areas of their interests and then to go to those events and be true representatives. Now, we can't, of course, force them to go to those events, but we can motivate them and inspire them as their executive leaders to do that. And that on the ground, in-person communication and representation to the students that aren't involved currently, I believe that will work wonders with engaging the student body.
Just to follow up, at the end of the day, the dynamics of YSU are very important to keep in mind. We are a commuter school, so a lot of students who go to school at YSU have very, very serious obligations, including, going to work or taking care of their kids. So the very least we can do is not be a presence just through social media, not be a presence just through email, but to put people in shirts and to have them develop interpersonal relationships with students. Because at the very least, if you can put a face to a name, you're going to feel more comfortable working with that organization.
Nick, Ciara, would you care to respond to that?
Some of the physical ideas in our platform include more physical advertisements around campus to let students know. We also want to have more events. We put more funding into student appropriations, which will yield more events, which more students will be included on. And then we really just want to work personally with the student organizations. That's something, it's not mentioned in our platform because we feel that it didn't need to be mentioned. That's something that student government always needs to work on. We always need to engage students more by going and meeting with them. We need to encourage our student representatives to be more active because there hasn't, this past year as a representative, I haven't felt pressured to go out and really meet with other student organizations, and that's something that we would really like to see implemented.
In addition to that, we have a first 30 days plan in our actual platform. That contains people we want to talk to, things we want to do, and one of those items is to implement a marketing plan within the first 30 days. Marketing is both through social media and physical mediums, such as the Jambar. Okay, I'll keep going. Anyways, face-to-face contact is also key, and people have talked about having open door policies. Next year, if it takes having an open desk policy and moving my desk into the middle of Kilcawley Center to reach these people, that's what I will do. I'm dedicated to talking to each and every student, and I hope you help us reach out to even more students.
Thank you. Thank you. Red tie. Is it a red tie?
Yes, it is.
Okay, bright lights up here.
All right, so my name is Tyler Miller-Gordon. I'm a philosophy and French major here for Nick and Ciara. I think it's admirable, as well as Ashley and Jacob do, that you are appropriating some of your money that you should be receiving into the student organization. Having attended many events myself, I've seen a lack of attendance, not necessarily a lack of events to attend, but a lack of attendance at those events, and I'm just kind of wondering how you plan to combat that.
Okay. Part of the marketing plan is we'd like to contain or receive pictures from each event sponsored and put that together in some sort of portfolio. In my student organization, we've received pictures from each event we've attended and put that into an organized yearbook of sorts for our organization.
We want to help student organizations promote their functions, and we can do that by meeting with them and helping them set up their connections on campus. It's hard for student organizations who haven't had much contact with SGA and other outside organizations to get attendance up in their at events. So if we reach out to them and make those connections and help them connect with other students and other organizations to get their event out there, I think that would help increase attendance.
Yes.
So just a point of note, we already collect photos from our student organization events. Through the Financial Affairs Committee, we encourage with each email we send out, allocating the funds that were passed in the financial bill, that they also send us photos. We've gotten those back, and that's what we use to put together our presentation at the Student Leadership Retreat. In addition to that, just recently I proposed that we add a question to our financial affairs application where students are able to spend around 200 words advertising for their event, and then that has been fueled directly into our social media so that students have the opportunity to see their student organization events advertised and then also attend those.
Thank you. This side of the room seems to be rather silent. Do we have a question? Down front, we have a question. Gabriella, can you make it down front?
What I'm wondering is, like, I get these emails saying, like, YSU activities, and they're, like, really lengthy, and I'm wondering how, like, people don't really look at them. Like, no offense to anybody, but I'm just wondering how you guys can implement, like, some kind of proposal of how to get more students aware of activities where, like, rather than just Facebook notifications, because honestly, a lot of people just turn those off. So do you guys have any plans? It's for both parties.
This side first.
I swear I turned it off.
All right, so a big part, or a plan that we have in place is the advocacy for a smartphone app for campus. And so where this vision emerged from is that other universities in the state of Ohio and across the United States have a platform for smartphones for their students to unite your campus email, to unite the Blackboard, the maps for campus, and our shuttle service. And we would want to allow that platform to be written and maintained by our students in computer science, and then allow student organizations and individual students to post events and then provide tags for what those events are. So that if you as a student are interested in art, you can search for that tag under art, and you don't have to read through what maybe the dental hygiene programmer is doing or the blood drive that's coming up on campus, but rather you'll be able to find that tag and say, I'm interested in art, these are the events that I want to go to, and then add that to your personal calendar.
Just very quickly to expand on that, I think it's important to note that this isn't just an idea. These are actual conversations that we've had with President Tressel, who's in support of funding an app.
Nick, Ciara.
In years past, there have been talks about apps and tabs and many virtual web things that have never really been implemented. I'm not sure if you're a part of Youngstown Design Works, but are you?
RJ.
Yeah. I've worked with RJ in the past in downtown and many other things, and there are currently students on campus developing an app that we could have our voices heard through that, and they can develop it to cater to whatever interest that students want to hear. This app is called Route, and the Youngstown Design Works students, graphic and web design students, are working on this app. We would continue support of that, and we would work with those students to develop it even further.
Can I have a question?
Yes, you may follow up. Speak loudly, please.
Is that app like implemented for Youngstown, like downtown Youngstown, or just YSU, or combining them? And what's the time frame? Why hasn't that been notified? Because I'm a student at Bliss, and I didn't even know about that.
From my knowledge, they've been developing it with their students, and it's called Route. With that,
I'm a student. This is kind of for both, and I kind of thought of it because Briggs just said keeping students on campus. My main concern is that regardless of whoever wins, that students will not be on campus. They will be, the allocated funds will be used for programming and events that will be outside of campus's reach. How are you going to keep these organizations from using the funds, maybe not keep them from using it, but encourage them to use them on campus so that the dollars are brought back to YSU and not Youngstown?
Okay, since you went first last time, I'm going to give Nick and Ciara the opportunity.
we feel the additional $10,000 added to the budget will be both spent on campus and in Youngstown. We don't think spending money or dollars in Youngstown is a bad thing. Our approach to interacting with downtown Youngstown is not a new thing. It's building off existing things taking place within student activities, because we've held 3 events just this semester downtown already. We think it's a great thing that people are getting involved in the city and people are getting involved on campus, and we're going to continue both of those things.
Thank you. And last minute to you.
So really, there are 2 elements specifically to helping student organizations get engaged. So the first is financial, and the second is basically the support that student government gives. So I'll just talk quickly about the financial element, because I think we've talked about that a lot. But it is quality and quantity. And what we want to be able to do is give student organizations a good amount of money to be able to defray the cost of their events. And we can do that by not only taking money from salaries and reallocating it, but also, again, petitioning the current administration to increase our budget. But more than that, we can continue to do what Ashley has already shown that she can do this year, which is fund a huge number of student organizations and events. So from a financial standpoint, we really feel that we're qualified to help engage students, but it's more than that, it's also support.
And on the topic of support, we want our student leaders to feel that SGA is a resource for them to advertise their student events, and then also to see their student representatives at those events and engaged in those organizations, so that they feel the full support, not only financially, but in terms of physical presence.
Okay, thank you very much. And that basically concludes today's event. However, before we adjourn, so I want to thank you personally, and I think we all should, and I wish you good luck for the rest of the week.